Americans are split on whether or not the Supreme Court is too liberal or too conservative. Yes, indeed, America, it is true. A new Gallup poll shows that 47% of Americans approve of the justices and 46% disapprove. Those numbers have changed little over the past couple years, meaning that Americans are 50-50 on this court. And, you know, I gotta tell you, in large part this is based on whether or not the most recent, major decisions is seen as conservative or liberal. But I gotta tell you, the Supreme Court should be one of those places where there is, like, they're known for having no reproach, right? Like, the Supreme Court should be just sort of this body that is sort of above it all. That was the whole idea. That's why the word supreme is in the court, right? There's supposed to be this high and lifted up body that rules on, that has a fair and balanced ruling on issues. And what has happened over the years, America, I gotta take my glasses off because this is just one of those, it's crazy. You just gotta feel it. What has happened over the years is that our politics has become so divided and so divisive that our Supreme Court has become this political football. Whoever's up when somebody dies or somebody retires gets to control the direction of the court. Think about this for just a second. Warren, right, the famous Warren Court, which pushed forward the Brown v. Board decision. Warren was appointed, if I'm not mistaken, by Eisenhower. Very conservative Eisenhower appointed Warren, and yet Warren had a fair and balanced court that desegregated schools. You see what I'm saying here? What I'm saying here is that the job of the courts are to be to render decisions based solely on the letter of the law and solely on the Constitution, not on political ideology. And what we've seen over the years is the complete opposite of that, right, on a lot of decisions. We've seen a court that have stripped individuals' right to collectively bargain in the Harris v. Quinn decision. We've seen a court that has trampled on a woman's rights to control her own uterus under the Harris v. Quinn decision. We've also seen a court that has pushed forward some of the most regressive social laws in American history. So we've seen from this court. Now, yes, people will say, well, this court also is the court that gave us gay marriage, and that is true, or that overturned DOMA. But that was the court doing what it was supposed to do. The court looked at the letter of the law and they said, wait a minute now. Equal protection under the law is for everybody. And if a married couple gets certain innumerable rights, so should a non-married couple, because that's what equal protection under the law means. Right? So when all these conservatives go out and talk about how liberal the court is, think about the decisions where the courts have decided in favor of the minority or a minority group, whether it be Brown versus Board, where the court made a decision that equal protection under the law should exist, or Lovey versus Lovey versus Virginia, where the court said that if you're two white people and get certain protection under the law for being married, two black people or a black and white person married, an interracial couple should get those same protections. The job of the court is to be above it all. Now our court has become a political football for people to play around with based upon who's up and who's down. And that's part of the problem, right? You know, we always love Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or we call her RBD or RBG. Awesome sauce, because she's the only one of the people in the court to get it. It's about equal protection under the law. The court is above it all. It doesn't see religion. The court doesn't see political ideology. But what we've seen from Scalia, from Alito, from Thomas, all these maniacs on the court is the idea that it's about politics. It's not. It's about people, because the people shall always stand on top of those that are in power. Because the power of the people always outweighs the people in power. But sadly, this court has changed it to a situation where the courts, the people in power, are trying to do everything possible to crush the power of the people. Whether it's Citizens United, whether it's McCutcheon versus Ferguson, or whatever the case that basically threw out campaign limits, the case that made corporations people. America. This is the dividing line of our country. This is the moment when Americans have got to stand up. now is not the time to be a spectator. This is not a spectator sport, because as more and more of these conservatives try to make our courts more and more about their political ideology, the harder and harder it's going to be for everyday Americans to get a leg up and get a chance at the American dream, because that is not what these people believe in. They believe in a country where if you're pale, stale, and male, you get an advantage, and if you're anything else, you get shoved down. You don't get an advantage. You're disadvantaged forever. And the only way it's going to change is if we really fight back and make it so we put the word supreme back in court. Point blank, period.